putting it really, so in psychology, they call this priming. Telling them what to expect before you show it to them, so they know, like, they're not going to be instantly be like, this doesn't look like a website, like it's all blue and gray, whatever. I feel like I'm talking a lot of shit about clients. So, and we love them. Does anybody have any questions? Like, please feel free to shout them out at any time. I don't want to wait till the end. So, it's all pretty. It's pretty simple, basic, straightforward stuff.
Go ahead.
So I really like this option because, especially at an agency, because it is faster than building out an interactive thing. And the whole, again, going back to the point about being able to iterate quickly on these things, iterating something that does have interconnectivity, and like if all of these things are actually links, like you have to, if you change something, having to go back and like mess with the links or take out menu items with everything, it can be not as efficient as possible. And as an agency, most of our work is like need it now instead of like let's find something that's like perfect, right? Or I should say perfect, but it's not the same as working in house. You guys can focus and take the time to understand what the user wants instead of what the stakeholder wants. So that's my lo-fi.
I have a question. So as far as users, right? You're interviewing people when you're talking about the idea. I mean, where does lo-fi versus hi-fi fit in all of that?
I would probably show them lo-fi. I mean, if you're pulling in designers and you have to do a bunch of Photoshop work on hi-fi, I would definitely get some feedback from them. I don't know, what do you think?
I would do it as early as humanly possible, especially if you're working on a product or an app or something like that.
Like the lo-fi?
Oh yeah. Or
okay.
yeah.
But, I mean, are you going to show lo-fi, like you're doing customer reviews, right? Just got a customer reviews. So if I'm doing customer reviews, should I have my lo-fi there, or would it be better for hi-fi for customer reviews?
I think it'd be fine to have lo-fi and sort of because what we talked about before, like you don't want to show them the solution too soon.
Right. Yeah.
I think if you show them a hi-fi like wireframe, you're kind of already showing them like, well, this is what it is. But if it's lo-fi and you're drawing it and you're just adding a visual component, I think it might be helpful. And it kind of allows it to be a little bit more of a discussion, especially if you're doing an interview. They say, oh, well, what about they can like offer some suggestions or something like that. So
There is an entire school of thought for why you should show a potential user something that looks shitty and has wires hanging out of it over something that is, especially for a new idea, over something that is polished and looks like you know what you're talking about. And again, Eric Ries's book totally touches on all of that stuff. And who's a good guy to talk? The guy who started Ignite Talks. Have you heard of Ignite Talks? Okay, so he is the CEO and founder of this company called, I cannot remember it. He spoke at South by, and I got his card, and I will share it with you all later if you want. But he works with and started a hardware startup incubator, and he says like these people who you are potentially going to are like I said, for all these reasons, are more excited about seeing something new and more willing to interact with something that can solve a problem of theirs because they're willing to pay more money for it. They're willing to invest the time in order to like learn something that doesn't quite work quite right or whatever because they care that much more about solving a problem. And I can't. There's so many other reasons why you want to show something. Like Seth Godin often talks about getting it in front of people early. Early is on the set for you guys, like the bell curve, like the early adopters over here, because they help you jump that gap, which I think is some slides you guys probably saw early on, like the chasm, crossing the chasm.
Yeah.
That book is all about exactly what you're asking about.
Okay.
So I say, yeah, totally lo-fi. Like just get the idea in front of people as early as possible, and get them using whatever. So and that's why the thing that we were talking about earlier, that app I was talking about, the golf app, it's called Hazel. It is going to fail because we have not shown it to anybody yet. Like, we have not let anybody. And I'll bring it up and I'll show it to you guys in a minute. But things got, for those of you who weren't here earlier, things got 135K in funding. Our founder has, I'm one of the founders, a main founder has spent money to build it and does not want to show it to everyone. He wants to make it perfect beforehand. I was like, okay, man, go do it. Go waste all everybody's money, and then like we'll see after it's done, we'll test it, and then it's not going to. If it works, great. We took a huge gamble, but we don't. We're testing. We have not tested any of our assumptions on the show. So this is it. Which we can talk about later. Sorry, that was long. Any questions on that? All right. So high five. Obviously, it's more detailed and it's way closer to what the finished product is going to look like, and it is good. And earlier I mentioned that the wireframe and the Logify is the most logical place to start your design process. It's not always necessarily the place to start the design process, especially if you're in an agency that is moving at the speed of business instead of building, testing, and iterating and learning and stuff, right? So a lot of times the good enough is surpassed with the budget that they're spending with us. So I brought some examples here of how we do this. So typically we use PSDs. Some of you guys have done wireframes. Have any of y'all designed mockups like with Photoshop? Yeah, okay. So just using layers in Photoshop allows you to quickly show what everything is. Anything that you're trying to all of the different pages you're showing. So example, like this is payment options, and then password assistance 1, password assistance 2, and guest checkout, and then top nav is up here, and then this is version 5, this is version 3, mobile. Like you can see the cart is different because they saw Amazon and they're like, oh, we need to pop up like Amazon. So that was like one little design innovation. And again, this takes a long time for someone to do in Photoshop, but a long time being like several days for us to do this, right? It's not necessarily like in a sketch, it's like, okay, throw that one away and like do it again, and here you go. But we're dealing with a client who has a $20,000 budget and wants this to happen in 2 weeks. So we go straight into Photoshop and block it out. Because after this point, we hand it off to a developer and they know exactly what to build and there's no questions asked. It's done. At least that's how it is in the agency. I know that's way different than how it works here. But yeah, like I said earlier at the beginning, because that's the two sides of how that works. And actually, this is an excellent case study because just like this Hazel Golf app, you guys know Drilling Photo and what they do. Okay, so they sell software subscriptions for like $60,000 for a year for one license or something, and it essentially gives you like industry data off of who's drilling where, so you can make your decision to drill near there because they found oil there, I guess. And then the returns on that are like ridiculous, so they're allowed to charge that much for money. So they kept on hearing, at least in the client anyway, kept on hearing, oh, I think they just took it down, so I can't look at the live version, but their clients would always say, "Oh man, I don't want to spend $60K with you guys, or I want to test this thing out. So I wish you just cut piecemeal things together, and then I would totally pay you for it." Well, all we hear all the time in product management, right, is like talk is cheap, but a check is what matters, right? So off of that insight, and they didn't get any data on these like comments. They just like, "Oh, I hear this a lot. Let's build it." And so they spent. This was before I really took this class and understood what product management was. So I said, yes, give me your money. I will totally build that e-commerce platform for you. And we did, and it cost like 35 grand and then some because they had like 5 sprints after the fact. And they made it live and they spent who knows how much money to push the thing and like market it. And they didn't sell a single thing. And they kept on dropping. They started like 10 grand for one of their services or one little tiny thing, and they dropped it down, got down to $900, and no one bought it. That is why you build and you test it and you learn and you iterate.
You don't ask people, would you buy it? You ask them, would you buy it?
Seriously, this is a perfect, so I love the concierge service. Like that is the MVP of choice, I think, for everyone. That's how I would do it with Hazel. I told this guy, like, I will take a cell phone without any app, videotape someone and be like, I will send this to a pro right now and give you a golf lesson if you give me $9. And he was like, don't do that. I will tell everybody what we're doing. And same thing with this. Like if I was in his shoes, and I know what I know now, I would say, okay, great. If you want that, I will give it to you. I will custom make a PDF of this. It'll take me like 20 hours to do, and pay me $900, and we'll see if we can actually get customers. So I know we're getting off track from what the purpose of this class is, but yeah, it's great to learn from other people's mistakes and keep them yourself. Any questions on that? The other thing about this, about Hi-Fi, and I should say about PSDs, and getting back to the whole buying or getting stakeholder buy-in, this buys you that. This leaves zero room for imagination. And there are a whole lot of tools that get you a Hi-Fi wireframe and or sometimes a mock-up on the cheap and quickly. And you can just Google tools for about that. But if you like search Medium for posts about top things people didn't tell me about Hi-Fi mockups, was that the Hi-Fi will buy you stakeholder buy-in because they don't have to think about it. There is no more. The logo isn't there. You got to stick the logo in there first. So that's one thing that's really great about Hi-Fi that this has over the other versions that we talked about so far. Okay, so this, I totally disagree with this. Because after the Hi-Fi mockup, after the Hi-Fi wireframe, then, at least in our business, then we build a mockup. But that's because I work in an industry where brand is paramount, right? You have to make sure the colors are exactly the right hex code and stuff like that. So